Local SEO is such a mystery to plumbers and home service businesses. Today, we got Darren Shaw to spill the beans on what these SEO companies don't want you to know. Find out what Google's really thinking and practical steps on what you can do to be able to rank better in Google. Come check it out now. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Coach U Show. Today, I have one of the very, very, very best people in local SEO. It's Darren Shaw. I've known him forever, but I've never had him on the podcast. So we actually have him here. He's the founder and CEO of Whitespark too, which does local listings the right way. And he launched new GMB management or GBP management software. So welcome, Darren.
Hey, thanks for having me, Dennis. Yes, we've been following each other on social for like a decade. And so now it's good to finally meet. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a lot of home service business owners out there that are confused about the world of local SEO and how things are changed. And these are garage door, pest control, plumbing, other folks where they do a good job with their crews, drive around different vans, perform a great service. And they've been burned before, as you've heard, when it comes to hiring SEO companies, and they just want to know what the real deal is with SEO. And the fact that we have Darren Shaw here, no better opportunity than to ask you on behalf of our audience, what do these home service business owners need to know? How can they tell whether this company that claims that they're doing all this SEO is doing anything at all, or whether it's just because they actually have a great reputation and there's nothing to do with, what the SEO company's doing? Like, how do I audit? How does a fat man know if he's getting the shoe shine?
I would say one of the first things you should do is, what you should know is that if they have contacted you, they're probably not very good. So if you're getting like cold outreach in your inbox and they're cold calling you, you probably don't want to hire that company just because of I don't know, maybe they're good and they're just doing their very best. They're doing the hustle. They're trying to build their business. But I hate cold outreach. And I think that if they've contacted you, that's your first red flag. That an agency doing local SEO, if they're very good, they're not doing cold outreach. They are inundated with requests coming from small businesses that need expert help. So I would say that as a first red flag. But then you also should really look at what they're suggesting for strategies and tactics. So there's a number of things that I would call local SEO myths. And you can see these on the local search ranking factor survey. So this is a survey I do with the top experts in local search every year. And in that survey, I asked a number of questions about what impacts rankings and what doesn't impact rankings. So there's a lot of stuff. And the best place to see all the local SEO myths is on TikTok. So if you go into TikTok and you watch some local SEO gurus talking about it, they keep saying things that have no impact on rankings. And so I'll just quickly list them. Service areas, go ahead, set your service areas on your profile, has no impact on rankings, but people will tell you it does. Keywords in your Google Business Profile description, no impact on rankings. Geotagging images, if you hear that one, you should run for the hills. That is definitely a local SEO myth. Those are probably the top three that a lot of people tend to get wrong. So if they're saying that, then they're not worth talking to anymore.
What do you think about all these offshore local SEO experts on Fiverr or whatnot, where you can pay them a few $100s and they're going to do all these manual citations and build backlinks and whatnot. And I've seen some actually generate results doing black hatish kinds of things.
Yeah, I would say Fiverr is very hit and miss. There is some stuff you can get on Fiverr, which is pretty basic local SEO work, and that is citation building. So you could go to Fiverr and you could hire someone to just blast you onto directories. They're not going to be judicious about the quality of the directories. They're just going to blast you out on a whole bunch of directories, and a lot of those are going to be garbage and completely worthless, but they're probably going to hit some of the ones that have value. So, you're not going to get the worst from that. I do have a video on my YouTube where I talk about what's called my map citations. And so this is if you see this on Fiverr, it looks amazing. It's got this circular grid of all these map pins, and it looks like, I will do 20,000 map pins for 7 cents. People are just like, oh my God, 20,000 map pins. That's got to be good for my SEO, but it's not, it has no impact. So I have a video where I talk about that. That's some garbage. Fake reviews, that is some garbage you can get on Fiverr. Please do not do that. That'll actually have a negative impact on your business in the long term. Google is cracking down on this stuff. So
What
don't
about
do
negative
fake
reviews
reviews.
that, not what we would do this, but I've seen other people buy negative reviews for competitors.
Well, please don't do that either. I've actually seen people buy positive reviews for competitors and then try to report them for to get their business profile suspended. So don't do that either. Don't just don't do shady stuff, and don't buy services from people that are doing shady stuff. So most of the stuff on Fiverr is basically garbage, and I would not recommend that either.
Yeah. So what is legit, Darren?
What is legit? You could actually look at the local search ranking factors at the top 40 contributors that are contributing them. Almost every one of them is in some form running an agency or working at an agency. And those people know what they're doing. They are handpicked, the best of the best. And you can get really good services from those people. Well, some of them are definitely on the high end. So if you're a home services business, you might have a hard time finding the best of the best at a rate that is affordable. And I did not come on this show to plug our services, but we do actually have a really great service at Whitespark. Is our SEO services department. And we have packages at $500 a month, which is just managing your Google business profile and getting that ranking. We have our second tier, which is managing your website and your Google business profile, and it's $1,000. And we are deliberately half or 1/5 the cost of many of the other people out there because we want to be accessible to the average small business owner. And so we do have packages at that rate that are reasonable, and we don't do any of that shady stuff.
I was thinking about buying a couple of those just because I don't want to do it in-house, and being completely transparent, like, yep, we've hired Whitespark for their, mid-size or top-end packages, but just to help like me, and we have a lot of agencies that also, watch this as well. But what is what is being done for like these mid-tier packages at only $1,000 a month? I think like you can't get very far for $1,000 a month. And then you have a top-tier package, what's like an extra $400, and you build one link per month.
That's right. Yeah. So basically with our Google Business Profile package, we're just doing your Google Business Profile. So our first pass is an audit and an optimization of it. We get it all up to date. And then the ongoing work is review management for you. So we work with your review strategy, getting reviews. We respond to all your reviews for you. We do weekly Google posts. So we create the content for you from your website and generate the images and generate the content. We actually will generate videos for you and put those up on your profile now. So we're trying to take your profile. We do everything that we can that impacts rankings directly to get that as optimized as possible. And then we're really focused on conversions. What can we do to make your profile stand out from the competition? So it's almost like conversion rate optimization for your Google business profile. So we're doing that on an ongoing basis, populating your Google Q&A section, populating the services, populating the product section, just managing all of that for you, taking it off your hands and doing it in an expert way. And then if we're doing your website, like you said, there's not a lot you can do at those prices. And so we prioritize the very best work, and we're doing about 5 to 6 hours a month of on-page SEO work for you. So we'll pick your service pages and focus on those first. So we're optimizing the titles, we're generating new content, we're reworking the page layouts, we're thinking about your site architecture. Some of the clients that come to us, they need some technical SEO, so we got to fix up a bunch of stuff too. So we just do that over the course of time. And so if you hire somebody for $10,000 a month, they're just going to do it a lot faster. They should do your whole website in month 1 and 2, but we know that it doesn't work that way. So we just stagger it out over time. And then the third package is $13.49 a month. And in that case, we do one link a month, and that's basically guest post outreach. We're just, hey, you got a blog, I got a client, and it'd be great if we contributed an article. That's our process for link building. So we do one of those a month. Yep.
That sounds fantastic. Completely white hat.
And it is all legit, nothing.
No tricks. So I have a friend, his name's Roger Wakefield, and I
know that guy.
You know him? Okay.
Well,
he's
I don't know him personally, but I watched Joy's webinar with that guy, and I just love him. Oh man, what a character. What a YouTube sensation. I love what he's doing.
He's a down-to-earth, real guy.
Yeah.
Still owns his plumbing business.
Yep.
He's selling it later this year for $45 million, which is pretty
Yeah,
cool.
right. The power of
but
YouTube right there. Yeah.
but his mission has been to help people create a $80,000 a year job in the trades
Right.
instead of going to college or whatever. And it's fantastic. Every time I run into a plumber, I'll say, "Hey, do you know Roger Wakefield?" And they're like,
And
"Oh
they do
yeah, I grew up watching
every
his
time.
videos, and he's
Yeah.
got millions of subscribers and that kind of thing. Not that he's trying to become famous or anything."
Yeah.
And he called me a week ago. He said, "Dennis, I was up at 2 o'clock in the morning and I couldn't get back to sleep because I had this burning idea of creating this tool theme website course called Are You Googleable?"
Okay.
So he went ahead and bought the domains, spelled
Yeah.
different ways. Of course,
Yeah.
he's smart. Are You Googleable? And the idea is that he wants to teach all these other plumbers how to be able to own their SEO and local service ads and their website and
Yeah.
whatnot. And I thought, what a fantastic idea. All the stuff that, like, I'd love to gather some of the stuff that you've been teaching about GMB, which I
Sure.
know is all
Yeah.
public, but give you, give
Yeah.
you credit on that. But because he's got all the plumbers basically know who he is.
That's the
Right.
thing. That's exactly the thing. He's in this great position to be able to actually reach everyone who could really use the benefits of what he's teaching. Yeah.
And he is a plumber himself. So he carries a
Yeah.
lot of cred in that way. And he still, lays pipe and that kind of thing. So I was with Gary Ilias at Search Marketing Sydney for a few days. Barry organizes that event. And it was just last week, I think. And I ran an idea by him, and I want to see, what do you think? Before I tell you what his answer is, let me tell you what the idea is, okay?
I'm ready.
And I love to run things by experts just to see what they have to say, because I never want to assume that I'm correct. So we have in our network thousands of plumbers
Okay.
and chiropractors and real estate agents and home
Yep.
service businesses and med spas and
And they
whatever.
all love local search. Like local search is powerful for them.
Yeah. And I've been teaching the whole 1 minute video and document what you've been doing and post on social media, repurpose those in the blog posts.
Yep.
And plumbers will talk about, how do you unclog a drain? Or they'll talk about, here's a house that we visited in Richardson, Texas, and this is the problem that we solved, and a little behind the scenes.
Beauty. Show your work. Love it.
Yeah. And I've been using tools, like Rank Math and Link Whisper, and I'm starting to link between these different sites topically, because a plumber who's fixing a toilet in Carson City is not that different than a plumber, fixing a toilet in Saskatoon.
Yep.
And I further got to thinking, what? There's this geo grid. There's all these cities, major geo areas, and there's all these different services, yellow page headings across. And as long as you are linking to somebody that is in your geo or in your topic, in your category, that's legit, as long as it's not a link exchange or a purchase link or whatnot. Because it's not like we have a PBN or anything.
Right.
But we have kind of like this blogging network of people that can link to each other in a non-automatic kind of way, because we're talking about, how do you do skin laser resurfacing, and all the doctors who have a skin that has this particular type of skin laser resurfacing machine can contribute to a common article.
Yes.
And they would do that because as long as it's not someone in the exact same geo or category, then I'm totally okay with that. Right. A cosmetic surgeon in Miami versus a cosmetic surgeon in Beverly Hills, they're not competing against each other, but they're talking about the same things. So what do you think about that as kind of an internal link building strategy among our people that know each other?
So I would call it an external link building strategy. And I think it is wonderful. I think it's like this. There's the idea of reciprocal linking and how Google frowns upon that. And what we're talking about with reciprocal linking is, I got a page on my website called links. In that page, I just list 200 other links, and you could buy a link on that page or exchange a link if you put me on your links page. This is like really ancient, old school SEO stuff. And Google has identified that and crushed it. That doesn't work anymore. What you're talking about is something different. And what you're talking about is what actually happens naturally in the link graph anyways. And so, for example, in my industry of local SEO, I have links from every other blog. Sometimes someone will say, hey, I'm writing an article on this. Can you provide a quote? And I'll be like, yeah, totally. So I provide a quote, and I now have a link from the Moz blog, or they're talking about a local SEO article. You're talking about the same thing in dermatology.
Yeah.
That idea is natural. Google's not going to penalize that, and it's an absolutely wonderful way to get links. And did you know that the average local business only has 3 to 4 non-directory links? And
That
so
is awful.
the businesses that end up with 10, 12, 20, it's like a ranking rocket. It's so powerful because it really sets you apart from the competition. And so
Yeah.
the strategy you're describing here, I think, is really powerful. And I think what you would be is the facilitator of those types
Yeah.
of links. And I think
Yep.
it's a great idea. And, you're talking about it publicly here, but I would have kept that
Yeah.
one quiet if I was you. Because everybody's going to be doing it. And then the value will start to decrease. But I do think it's a smart idea. And I also think it's a very safe white hat idea.
Yeah. I've been talking about all the things that have worked for me in the last 25, 30 years, and I've never found it to be detrimental to like share my secrets,
No,
because
of
what I
course not.
find,
Yeah,
Darren, is that
true.
most
Yeah.
people don't do anything about it.
It's totally
Right.
true.
So it's like,
Yeah.
here it is, but so what? If you know what, if you take action, more
Yeah.
power to you.
Right. You'll
Right.
get 200 likes. Everybody likes it, and maybe one person will do it.
Yeah. And then you see other people that are giants in vertical SEO. So I saw that you've been with Seth Price, who's a good buddy of mine, and
Mhm.
he runs a personal injury firm, and he runs Blue Shark, which is doing local SEO and PPC for personal injury attorneys, because
Yep.
he is a personal injury attorney. So the other personal injury, that's what we call a lighthouse, someone who is like Roger Wakefield is a plumber, and
Mm.
he's helping other plumbers. And I was with him in DC, and I said, Seth, how come, and we did some private training for his SEO team. How come you never link between any of your clients, or the link building you do is purely passive? Like Damon Burton was here yesterday. He flew into Vegas, and
Mhm.
he and I hung out and did all this stuff. I mean, it's all the same characters. And I said, Damon, why don't you actively pursue this kind of link building? Because we have a huge network of friends of not buying links, but just,
No,
we all know each
contributing to
other.
articles.
We own these sites. Like, why don't you do this? And he said that he believed that passive link building, which is writing articles and people love it so much they just link to you, is a better long-term strategy. What do you make of that? Like Seth and Damon Burton, I consider both legends in the world of local SEO, but they're not
Yeah.
doing this.
I think that yes, if you never walk the gray line with Google, you're always running white hat. And they are correct that is the absolute safest long-term strategy. And so what we're describing right here, I don't think it's a gray or black hat strategy. I don't think there's anything nefarious about
It's
it.
totally clean.
You're just facilitating this contributions network, right? And
Yeah.
so Google, if they heard about it, they'd probably be like, well, we don't love it, but that's the way the link web works. And there's not really
And
any way
why
to
wouldn't they?
algorithmically detect it, right?
Yeah.
And Google they used to have a spam team. Matt Cutts ran it, right? And
Yeah.
there was a lot of manual actions there. Google does not want to do that anymore. It's all algorithmic. It's how do you build an algorithm that detects what you're talking about without taking down half of the link graph? Because that's what it all
Mm-hmm.
is anyway. So I think that
Mm-hmm.
you're talking about something very safe. And I would say if you're going to go with this passive link building approach, I wish you good luck. You're not going to get very many links. We publish a lot of stuff and it's great. It's great content. How do you get it to link? Especially if we're talking about plumbers. Plumbers don't, oh, that was a great
Why would anyone link
article
to that? Yeah.
that Bob over in Chicago wrote. I'm going to definitely go and update my website and link to his article. No, that doesn't happen. They might share it on social if you're lucky, but trying to get people to add links, what a grind. Forget it. No one's going to do that anymore. They don't link anymore. If we're talking about 2005, people would link because they had blogs and the blogging was the social network, but that doesn't exist anymore. And so passive link building, that's hard. It's hard unless you're building like really next generation, next level content. Like you've created an interactive map of bicycle accidents in your city and then the local news links to it. But you're talking about a resource that's going to cost you 10 grand to create, and you got to get developers and designers involved. And that's a lot more work than what you're talking about. I like your idea better.
Yeah, me too. So I gave a presentation last week
Yeah.
that was intentionally inflammatory, if you will, on how social media and paid ads actually drive SEO. and folks from
Ooh.
Google were in the room. And I did
Yep.
this knowing that they were there. And what I said was that if you produce great video content, let's say you go to a conference and you interview Darren Shaw, and there's all these
Yep.
other local SEO people, and I've got content with these other people, videos of them, you can see their faces. And I
Yep.
use my different AI tools like ChatGPT and Descript to be able to help edit these videos and turn them into proper articles. And here's the 25 things that I learned,
Yep.
listicle skyscraper kind of
There you go.
content.
25 pieces of content.
And I put it on, this whole like contributory, all the experts contribute, not to the level of what you do every year with your local search ranking factors, which by the way, everyone should get. But I do this and I put it on YouTube and I put it on Facebook and I summarize it and put it on LinkedIn and I put it across all the other socials and I drive $1 a day against it. And if the content's so good, if people really like it, they'll click on it and they'll come to my website and Google sees it because I have Google Analytics and all these other tools.
Yeah.
And that causes me to rank on
100%.
keywords that I want. And so if someone said after my presentation, they then asked Google, because we had this big Q&A with the Google people.
Yep.
And they said, but Dennis just said that that social media and running ads against it to drive traffic impacts SEO. You just said it doesn't. And Gary basically said, well, it doesn't directly affect it. Just because you're running ads on Google or YouTube doesn't directly affect it. Just because you post on social doesn't directly affect it. But if it drives a better user experience, then it will. What do you make of that?
100%. I am with you so hard on this, and we know this. Finally, Google has come clean, and they had to be forced in the trials to come clean. That we've known for a decade that they're using user behavior, click data, traffic data to elevate the search results. And it's not the only signal, but it is a strong, strong signal. And so when Google sees that this website is getting a lot of traffic, then that helps that website. It's like Google said, people like this one, we better rank it higher in the results. And we have documented evidence that that is a big part of how they rank websites and businesses in their results. And so what you're talking about makes all the sense. If you can get more traffic to your website and it's real traffic, there are services you can hire. I think Google has done a decent job, because I know a lot of people have tried those click services and they don't work very good. But your stuff is so real. Those are real humans in their real browsers with real search history actually going to your website. And I would agree 100% that the social content driving people to your website will have that same impact. And the ads is maybe even smarter. Yeah, ads is smarter because most of the social networks don't like it when you paste a link in. They don't want you to go off the site. But the $1 a day idea is actually kind of genius. And I'm thinking I got to do that for Whitespark, because that traffic does drive SEO. But who cares about SEO? That traffic drives traffic, and those people are now on your website, and those people can now become customers. And so they now have an awareness of you. But I would agree that there is the secondary benefit. So Gary's not wrong. It's not a direct benefit, but a secondary benefit that actually impacts your SEO as well.
Amen. Let me tell you a little story, and I want to see what your expert brain has to say about it. So I've taken this $1 a day strategy to the nth degree because I just like to be mischievous. And one of my friends, Caleb Williams, he is arguably the best known seller of whole life insurance. And he came from nothing to a big YouTube channel, and he's interviewed all the big names in financial services. He has his own conference. He has a book, all the, full knowledge panel, all this, tons of traffic. And he is the main speaker for the National Association of Insurance and Financial Advisors. This is the largest and oldest organization of financial advisors. So when you become a advisor and you sell life insurance and financial products, you join this organization. And he's the one, if you're in this organization, you're going to know who this guy is, right? Because he speaks and writes and all that. So he and I made some videos together, just because why not? I love interviewing experts. And I took some of those video snippets, Darren, and I targeted people who were members of the National Association of Insurance and Financial Advisors.
Pretty smart there, Dennis.
Of every state, of Arkansas, of Arizona, of Colorado, of whatever. I had to manually go in and add in each of these different groups. And so I got all of them in there. It's like 40,000. And I ran $1 a day on Twitter, because Twitter is the only one that allows me to do detailed targeting. Facebook and these other guys took it away. And I had a 40% link click rate.
Ooh.
I ran this ad 2 years ago, and it continues to stay at 40%. That means almost half of the people who see it click on the thing.
That's amazing.
And then they go to a landing page with a deeper video of me and Caleb talking about, if you're a financial services advisor, here's some things that you need to know about digital marketing and all this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And my argument is that the relevancy is so high because in our tweet it says, are you a member of NAFA? Like, of course you are. I'm targeting all the members of NAFA.
Right.
People click on it, they watch, they recognize this guy. Now they don't know who I am.
Yeah.
But they recognize this guy, and then they see this guy and me having this conversation. And then, hey, put in your email below, and we're going to give you this whole free training on, how to do digital marketing and this kind of thing. And of course they do. We get a 30% sign up rate on that. Guess what the cost per click was on those ads?
I don't know, 25 cents, because you're going to make it's
a penny.
What? No.
It stayed at a penny. I know it's 2023 and it's still a penny.
What?
I didn't think that was possible.
Is that because it's so targeted? Like, why is it so cheap?
Yes, because it's so targeted. Number one, and so targeted means I have to show the face to people who recognize it. It can't just be like I'm calling out NAFA members. Like I'm showing a picture and video of the guy they know, right? So it's not just relevant; it's like super relevant.
And you're getting so many clicks that
the click-through rate's super high, right?
Yeah.
Now, if this were run on Google or TikTok or whatever, they'd have facial recognitions, and then they'd be able to learn and find more people that are like that. But I didn't need to do that because of the nature of my targeting.
Yeah.
The super high CTR influences my effective quality score. So, quality score, relevance score, and advertising, like it affects what your ad rank is, what you pay. And therefore, my cost per click is super low. Because my cost per click is low and my positive engagement is high, my negative feedback is super low. Because I'm not selling anything. I'm not making big promises. I'm literally giving value.
Hey, here's a really helpful video. Click to learn more. I love it.
And literally, I'm not making any money on that. We're just giving out free content.
I thought I was coming on this podcast for me to teach your audience stuff, but you were teaching me some awesome stuff.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me get back to asking you questions.
No, tell me more. I do not want to answer questions. I want to hear more about this strategy because I love it.
So I did this experiment because I'm kind of like an ads and analytics guy, but you're more SEO. So I like to defer to you on this. So I did this and I found that this impacted his knowledge panel and my knowledge panel. And it impacted, it shows up in the different blocks, the content that we've repurposed.
Yep.
And I found that I could impact knowledge panels of other people that I work with by running ads against content. And this is where I'm speculating, if the engagement is high, not just because I'm running ads, but if the engagement's also high, I speculate that it's sending a signal to Google on what to show in the knowledge panel. And then it impacts the knowledge graph because of the traffic associated with it.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that?
I think that's really fascinating. Who you talked about that is Jason Bernard. He's like the knowledge panel guy.
I've been on his podcast like 3 times already.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I think it's a fascinating thing. And this is a world that I'm really trying to learn more about because I think it is a very important world for local SEOs to know about, which is entities. Right? And we think about EEAT and how do you get, I'm Bob the Plumber in, Denver, Colorado. How can I raise my own awareness to the level of an entity that Google would actually recognize and put into the knowledge graph? That I think is a powerful thing that you could do. And it's fascinating to me that maybe your $1-a-day strategy could contribute to that, right? So that's very interesting. Yep.
So what advice do you have for Bob the Plumber on what is this EEAT thing? Does the knowledge graph matter to him? Should he worry about a knowledge panel? He's not Roger Wakefield.
Yeah. So I can't speak authoritatively on this yet because I'm still learning it. I think it's going to be really difficult for Bob the Plumber to get a knowledge graph for himself, unless it actually is a lot easier to get a knowledge panel if your name is super unique. Like for me, there are other famous Darren Shaws that are more famous than me. So I'm not going to get one. I think it'd be really hard for me to get one. And so if it's, Bob McKenzie in Denver, good luck, Bob, because there's a different Bob. Or let's say your name is Joe Biden. You will never get a knowledge panel. Sorry, Joe.
No.
Joe Biden, the plumber, you forget it. You're never going to get a knowledge panel. So I think it's really hard. But the question that I'm still trying to figure out is, can you still generate that authority and expertise? Because if you go to the knowledge graph, there are something like 200 Samuel L. Jacksons in there, 200 different entries for each of them. And so you could still be one of 200 and still build some authority. So Google thinks it was this one, and this is the knowledge connected with that. So it's still worthwhile to build that up. And how do you do it? you make sure that everything you publish on your website is tagged with your name. And then your name is marked up. And then the website itself should be marked up in schema so that Google can really understand it. And then you use same as to link it to your social profiles and all this stuff. So, and then if you really want to take it to the next level, Bob, you got to work hard to get an article on the National Plumbing Association website. You're going to contribute an article there. And so all the places that Google would expect to see an expert in plumbing, what are those places? Identify those and try to contribute to them. And that will elevate you to a status of some expertise that Google can identify. And that, in my theory, which is yet to be tested, will elevate you above the local plumbers in Denver. So that's my theory about the EAT. I need some evidence to back it up, and I'm working on it.
The one thing that we've tested in the last couple months was, as you know, we're using ChatGPT to enhance our location service pages, add more information.
Yep.
Look at the people also ask questions and trying to answer those, embed YouTube videos, not because we're trying to Google stack, but we're trying to actually provide a helpful experience where people will stay. And what I've seen, and I asked Google this last week, is that some people literally just generate tons of garbage. And all the location service pages are exactly the same, where, you know, the Arlington plumber is the same as the Washington, D.C. plumber, same as the Richmond, Virginia plumber. Like, all the location service pages are identical, except they're just mad libsing the city name.
Sure.
And I asked Gary about this, and I said, Gary, this is obviously meant to manipulate the search engines. This does not create more value for the user, because it's the exact same thing. If you have a broken toilet in DC, how is that any different than in Arlington, Virginia, where the freaking toilet works the same way, right? And his answer surprised me. He said, as long as the users don't find it like offensive, or as long as it's not like, the standard was lower than don't try to trick us or do stuff for the search engine. And that had me disappointed. And he further said that even though they can detect output from GPT-4, but not all the different AIs, they are currently doing nothing about it, but maybe they will in the future. I was very disappointed about that.
I think it makes sense. So I think that his first statement that he said, as long as the user is not offended, and it raises the question, well, Google, how would you know? And the only way Google would know is by measuring behavioral data and click data. So one, did they bounce off the search results? So did they hit the page and leave? That's a clear sign of offense. Like, this is a bad page, I don't like it. So bounce rate only applies as a factor there. Like, did they go back to the search results? If they went to the page and they stayed there, then that's not a bounce. But if they come back to the search results and go to a different page, I think that is a negative thing where Google's like, so they didn't like that one. So like one more tick against you. Another one is using Chrome. They can actually tell, because Chrome is the most prominent browser. I believe they are using Chrome data to understand how people are consuming that page. Are they reading the content? Are they scrolling? Are they clicking on things? Are they spending time on the page? Those kinds of things I think Google is collecting log data on, and they're using it to help influence the results. So that speaks to his first comment about, well, as long as it didn't offend anybody, then I guess it's fine. And so that's where that strategy actually works. That whole thing where you've got one piece of content and the only thing you do is swap the title or swap the city name, that has been proven by the experts at Sterling Sky with some research that those pages rank and convert. And it's like, Google doesn't actually care. Basically, what Google cares about is, did the user like the page? And so even if the page is the exact same in Chicago as it is in Arlington, well, the users still are getting value from it. So the content doesn't have to be different. And there actually isn't a duplicate content penalty. Now, I wouldn't say that's your best strategy. I say what you're doing with ChatGPT is a better strategy. But I would caution people to not take the content from ChatGPT and put it on their website. Do not ever do that. You can take content from ChatGPT and then put your own spin on it. ChatGPT is better for generating content ideation, or the questions you should be answering on your page. And one of the great ways to do that is, you're a plumber in Denver. What are some common questions and problems people have related to tub drains? ChatGPT will give you all of that stuff. And so then you'll say, okay, what are some give me an outline for an article that would address all of those problems. Take the outline, but then write it in your own words. And then do the EAT, get your name, face, get your profile picture, all that stuff on that. And I think a lot of people make this mistake where they add the author info, the EEAT stuff to their blog, but they forget to do it on their service pages. So if you've got a service page about drain cleaning, who wrote that page? Google would like to know who wrote that content. And this is a thing that is lacking on 97% of every service page. Put an author bio on that page. You got the name, the profile photo, a little bio about who wrote that and who the expert is. And not only does that help Google, I think it actually helps the user too, because the user is going to be like, this guy Bob in Denver, he's pretty good. He really knows what he's talking about, rather than a faceless page. I think we want to get away from faceless, nameless content.
More trust for sure. Do you have an example of the perfect location service page? Or can talk about what exactly the components would be?
Well, in terms of a location page that is really well done for a multi-location brand, I would always direct people to Home Depot's pages. Home Depot does it very well. They talk about, they have frequently asked questions on there. They have products that are available at that location. They have specials that are specific to the location. So the pages are all very unique, and they have lots of content, and they're very well optimized. Home Depot has an excellent in-house team. I am sorry, but I have yet to find the perfect plumber service page. No one's doing it great. And so, yeah, I need to find it. I bet you we built it. I just have to query my team and be like, hey, team, give me our best service pages, because we have been working on this stuff in our agency. So we must have it. I hate that I can't answer that question immediately for you. But I'm telling you, have me on tomorrow and I'll answer that question. I'll be like, here it is.
All right. Or let us know. This is not live, so we can edit
it. It's right here. I need to be able to answer that question.
You know that the big DOJ lawsuit with Google and Apple has caused Google to have to reveal how local search works and the three main algorithms. So for those that don't know about this big lawsuit, what happened and what practically is of value for us in terms of our understanding and what we need to do?
I can't answer that question. I don't know exactly what was the impetus for driving that lawsuit. I think it's like an antitrust monopoly thing. It's like Google is monopolizing, and Yelp might have helped to bring it, because Google is prioritizing. This is really basic understanding. I might be getting this wrong, but as far as I understand, the complaint is that Google is prioritizing its own content. It's this whole concept of zero-click search. It's like once you get onto Google, they don't want to send you to somebody else's website. And so the complaint is that they're monopolizing the attention and the traffic for their own financial benefit by serving ads. That's, I believe, is the complaint. And
they are paying $12 billion a year to Apple to be able to have Google as the default, of which Apple, until the data came out, claimed it's not enough money for us to even care. It was really just to be able to contribute towards, Google's research and search and infrastructure and things like that. But when the amount of money came out, then everyone's decided that this is a material amount, and then it drove all this testimony about how the search were, rank brain and other sorts of algorithms, and how all the searches come together and schema and what signals they use. And it's super eye-opening.
It is amazing, because Google is their feet are to the fire, and they have to explain how this works to the judge. And so they have to say, this is how our search works. And so as SEOs, it's a real dream situation for them to finally lift the curtain and describe a lot of what drives search rankings. And the biggest thing that just keeps getting repeated over and over in the SEO industry is user behavior data, click data, engagement data. And that is something that we've been preaching on Whitespark for years with our Google Business Profile service. Like there are so many things on your Google Business Profile that don't directly impact rankings, but they do directly impact engagement, because when you have a very rich profile, people spend more time on it. They click on more things. They interact with it more. And that's the sort of secondary ranking benefit that you get by investing in really making your profile stand out. And so Google has proven to us that, yes, what we're doing actually does have a positive impact, because they are tracking all of this and they are using that information to rank their search results.
And you have done for you level services like we talked about, but you also have GBP software that, if I'm correct, is $1 per profile per month.
Yeah. So that
which is like free, basically.
Yeah. So I don't know. there used to be this thing called the Google Business Profile Dashboard, and you were needed to make a change to your Google listing, and you would go in there and you would make a change and hit submit, and it would update your profile. And so then they switched to this new in-search experience where they moved it to the thing, and everyone complained, like, this is garbage, and I can't figure out how this works, and why did you do that? And so we started building our software on that. But then the main feature that we are providing now with our software. So if, yes, it allows you to manage your Google business profile in our nice interface, which is better than the search interface. But the big benefit is it keeps track of any change that happens on your listing. Whether or not Google made that change, another owner or manager made the change, or even a competitor is doing some sabotage on your listing and made a change. You get an alert anytime something changes on your profile, and then you get a feed of all the updates that have happened, and you can just one click reject them. And it's only $1 a month per location. And so that it's like this insurance policy, because sometimes your profile is changing and Google doesn't send you an email and nobody knows about it. And then 6 months later, you're like, what? Our primary category changed from plumber to electrician, and no wonder we haven't been getting any calls. Or my services got all stripped out, or all of my additional categories changed. So some of these things can be disastrous to your actual rankings. And if you're not aware of them, then you have a big problem. And so that's what the software does. That's the main thing that it does, but it also allows you to update your services in a really nice interface. We have a great interface for that, and push updates in bulk to multiple locations. So that's its current core functionality. On the roadmap is a really beautiful SEO reporting platform, ability to push Google Posts, ability to manage your Google Q&A, ability to manage reviews. And we've kind of shifted to this mindset that for as long as possible, we want to keep this thing $1. We just want to keep adding value to this thing for the next like 5 years. Just it's going to be this ultimate platform. And then you'll be like, I don't understand why this thing is only $1. And the only reason I want to do that is because I want like 1 million businesses all using this. And so I want to make it like rock bottom price forever, so that, because I'm much more interested. We have enough money. Whitespark is a very popular company, very successful company. I'm not capitalist driven to like, I need to have, $100 million. What I want is 100 million users. I want to create the best platform that provides everything that you would ever need. And I want everyone to use it. That's my dream. My dream is not $100 million, 100 million users. That's what I want.
100 million users. Well, I have millions of followers, and I was just in Pakistan where there's a million of them there, and they all want to learn local SEO. Do you have a link or something that we can promote for all of our friends that want to learn local SEO and help our plumbers and whatnot in the United States?
Absolutely. It's the local search ranking factors survey. So it's whitespark.ca/local search ranking factors. I think there's dashes between the words, but it is basically the Bible of local SEO. It is contributed by the greatest minds in local search, and it is a scoring of every possible thing that might impact your rankings, and the very most impactful thing get rise to the top. So you can use it as your prioritized to-do list of what you need to do to really have a positive impact on your local search. And then it's also broken down by categories. So what impacts local rankings, like in local packs and Google Maps? What impacts localized organic rankings? What are the things that impact conversions? What are the local SEO myths? So it's really this great resource that should teach you basically everything you need to know about local SEO, and it's free. Just write that URL.
I've consumed it for years, the local search ranking factors report. I feel like it's in some ways more prominent than Mary Meeker's State of the Internet report, because I look forward to seeing what all the SEO experts are saying. One thing I've noticed that over the years, it seems that the impact of citations and posts on Google Business Profile has steadily gone down.
Great.
Is that kind of true? And what should we do about that?
So it is true. And I think that the reason that is true is that in 2007, almost like very few of your competitors were thinking about local SEO. And so in those days, you could go and build 100 citations, and then 2 weeks later be like, what the heck? I am now ranking #1 across the whole state. And it's incredible because your competition really wasn't doing it. And so now you'll have a hard time finding a local plumber that doesn't have 100 citations, because they all care about this and they've been investing in it. So what is the shift that has happened is this competitive advantage that it used to be versus what happens now. And so now you build 100 citations And well, my rankings didn't go up. And that's because you have to do so much more today. But I still think it's very important to build the foundation. Now, you mentioned Fiverr earlier. Get as many industry specific and city specific citations that you can find. Those provide a really great relevancy boost, and they're just tied to your industry. And so that's helpful. It's basically, you want to have your business show up where Google expects to see it. And so those, 50 plus 10 or 20 industry sites, and then you check citations off your to-do list. You don't have to do them anymore, but you should get the basics. Another really important thing to discuss is citation consistency. Citation consistency used to be super important when Google was dumb. And that was like, back in those days, if your name, address, phone number wasn't exact on all the sites, Google wouldn't match it, you wouldn't get credit. And so you would have this problem. And when you cleaned it up, you'd actually see, oh, okay, Google can now understand all of my business and I can rank better. These days, Google is very smart. It is not rows in a database like an Excel spreadsheet. It is entity-based knowledge graphs. And in that situation, partial matches, Google can piece things together really well. So consistency itself isn't a ranking problem if you're not consistent, and a lot of people don't understand that yet. Consistency really only matters if you want to make sure people are calling the right phone number. They found you on Apple Maps and it's got the wrong phone number. That's a problem. You want to fix that. And then also, it's this thing where Google keeps changing your info. So if you say my phone number is this, but then the rest of the internet says it's a different number, then Google will keep updating your profile, and that becomes annoying. Yes, you could use software like ours to monitor that and reject those changes, but it's good to go and clean up for those reasons. But you don't really have to do it from an SEO perspective. So that's citations today.
So with NAP not being quite as important as being exact, like you mentioned street and ST not being the same.
Yeah.
What is your opinion on having different call tracking numbers instead of using like a common number?
Okay. Yeah, it is a little bit of a mess if you've used a different call tracking number on 100 different websites or on the internet. That does create quite a mess, and I wouldn't go that far. But I don't think you're going to have a problem if you do a call tracking number on your Google business profile. In fact, I always encourage that. So make your primary number a call tracking number on your Google business profile, as long as you add your real number as a secondary additional phone number. Then you keep the pieces sort of tied together. That's really valuable. Yeah. And also, I love a call tracking number on your website. You want to see who's calling. And then with website-based call tracking numbers, you can even tie it to keywords and all that kind of stuff and really get a sense of like, okay, these keywords are driving these calls. So I really think there's great value in call tracking. And from a consistency perspective, no harm whatsoever, as long as you don't do it all over the place. And you could even go so far as like, okay, on my Yelp listing, I'm going to put a call tracking number because I want to see. But because, like I mentioned, it's entity-based now, if your name, address, and website URL is the same, Google still knows that's your business, even if the phone number is different. So you don't have to worry about consistency. You can use a call tracking number there and it's okay. And so those are my thoughts on that. Now,
I've noticed you've been doing a lot of experimenting. Like you've noticed that the opening hours are impacting the search results and changing those, changes rankings drastically. Or this little experiment you did where two competitors are in the same place and you shifted it out 200 feet. So it ranks differently. What are some of these other little gotchas that we need to be aware of?
Well, I think we should talk about hours. So all credit to Joy Hawkins and her team at Sterling Sky for this discovery. I did not know this prior. Now, after it kind of came out, a lot of people said, I've known that for years. But she's proven that if you're open, you're going to rank better than when you're closed. And so she did this with showing one map grid before and after at certain times. And then Jan Gilbert, who works at Sterling Sky as well, and also the creator and founder of Local Falcon, showed a really interesting chart where, as soon as the business closes, the rankings drop. And so I'm collecting a ton of data on this as well. I'm trying to understand it as well. And so I did share recently it was a plumber in Chicago. And so they're open 8 to 5. And then their rankings are like, at 3 o'clock, they rank in position 6. At 4 o'clock, position 6. At 5 o'clock, position 7. At 5:30, position 72. Like just plummet as soon as they close. And then they stay plummeted in the rankings until they reopen again in the morning. And when they open again in the morning, they go right back up to 6 and 7. And so what's happening there is that Google is prioritizing businesses that are open, which I guess makes sense. It's like, you run a search like plumber Chicago and Google, it's like, let's say 10 p.m.
Yeah.
Google can say, here are 30 plumbers that you could phone right now. You could pick up the phone and talk to them. And so that's kind of a better user experience, which is why I think it works this way.
Yeah.
But it is a brand new discovery in local search. So now the
But isn't
question
that for
is,
service, more for local service businesses? Because I've done this test on restaurants,
yeah,
and I have to filter for open now because for some reason, I love to eat late at night.
yeah,
So I'll do that Google search, but I have to filter for open now because it still will show a whole bunch of places that
yep,
closed at 9.
yeah.
So I
And
feel
this
like
is
local
important too.
services people need to, there's more of an aim towards like, I want to call someone now for emergency
Mhm.
services.
I am studying this across 20 different keywords and categories. So I'm trying to get the answer to that specific question, like is it category dependent? And I don't know the answer to that yet, but my data is crawling right now. So I will have that answer next week. But I do think we see that. And I ran some personal tests and I didn't see any changes in maps. I also think it might be platform dependent. If you're doing it on the
Mm,
Google Maps app, you might get different results. If you're doing it
yeah.
on the local results just in search, you might see it not impact as much. So I think Google's trying to they put this in place on some platforms, but not others. And so I'm trying to get to the bottom of that as well.
Yeah.
But I do think it impacts many businesses. One of the questions that's going to come up is, oh, okay, well, now that I know this, I'm going to set my business to 24 hours. And so I would really caution people against that, because what is the point if no one's answering the phone? Okay, I might
Yeah.
be open at 3 a.m., but if I get a phone call at 3 a.m., is someone going to answer the phone? A voicemail, forget it. It's not even worth it. It's actually
Right.
a bad user experience. So I would not do it unless you're going to go to the trouble of hiring a phone answering service that's 24 hours. And so you could do that. But then I would also say, make sure it's a data-backed decision. Are you actually getting calls at that time? Is anyone visiting your website in those hours? So try to understand if there's any value in even doing it, because you may not be able to justify the cost of the call answering service if nobody calls for plumbing in the middle of the night. Then you
Yeah.
might be fine to just keep your hours as they are. So that's just one thought. Almost every business, though, should consider extending their hours by just a
Mm,
couple. If you close at 5, maybe have someone on hand that can answer the phone, or between 5 and 8, it redirects to someone's cell phone, the owner's cell phone. Just so that's an idea, just to maintain that search traffic that you might get in those sort of edge hours on the opening and closing time. So if you were you're open 9 to 5, now you're open 6 to 8. That actually might be an interesting strategy that every business should consider.
Well, there you have it from Mr. Darren Shaw. Any other final words of wisdom, Darren?
Final words of wisdom. Let's see. Videos. I think they are huge. I think it's a slept on tactic. I think there's great value. I just published a tweet today that showed, for one of our clients that we generated a video for, they've had 11,000 views of that video, and we just published it a month ago. Whereas almost every other photo in their Google business profile, it's like 150, 200. Like,
Yeah.
Google is pushing videos into the search results. They're competing with TikTok. They know that the world is going more visual and more video-based content. And so if you are putting videos on your profiles now, Google wants to surface those. And they autoplay in the maps, they autoplay on mobile. So get videos on your profile. If you have not embraced video, then listen to Dennis. He knows all about it, and get some videos on your profiles. I really think it's a missed opportunity right now.
Yeah. Huge videos on your Google business profile. And then the reviews that customers leave. Even if they don't leave a review, they can still publish photos and
Yeah.
videos.
Yeah.
Even me as
Encourage
a
that.
consumer, I travel all over the world and I love just uploading pictures. I go snap, snap, snap inside a restaurant. I'm just a random guy. I have millions of views on some of my videos.
Yeah. It's
And
huge.
increasingly my videos are getting more. So I'm not saying go spam crazy, but employees, team members, whatnot, they should upload. They don't have to leave a review. You can upload photos and videos to that
I'm gonna
GBP.
I gotta work on that employee strategy. That's smart, right? It's like, get all of your employees to take videos and upload them. Yeah, very
Yeah.
smart. Yep.
Yeah. Amen. Darren Shaw, where can people find you?
Whitespark.ca, or on any social network. So I'm on Twitter, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on TikTok, I'm on YouTube. Definitely follow my YouTube channel. I think we've got great content there. We're trying to build it up. But yeah,
Nice.
and you can check out all of our products and services at whitespark.ca.
Amazing products and services there. I'm going to try some of them. Maybe they're even white label. And whitespark.ca, they have that local search ranking, local search
Local
ranking
search
factors.
ranking factors survey.
That's
It's
a
right under the
mouthful. Every
resources tab.
year comes out
Yep.
with this amazing report. I'd love to see what the changes are. Darren, thank you so much for being on the Coach U Show.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a real pleasure. Where do I go to learn more about your dollar a day strategy? Because I'm like fascinated. I'm like,
I'll give you
this seems
access,
genius.
and even
Yeah.
more than that, I'll add you to our coaching group. So any questions you or a team member that you assign, the figurehead like you is involved, but usually you're so busy doing so many other things that we need whoever your person, there's like one operational marketing ads analytics person,
Yeah.
and have them go through our training. Now, certainly you can go through it and
Yeah.
watch the overviews and all that, but I find you're going to get a better ROI when you have one person who's like
That's
they're in
actually going to
charge of
do
that
the
thing.
work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because otherwise you get it, get around to doing all these things that we ask you to do.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, and I won't
Okay.
I
So
won't
let's
charge
think
you a
about
dime,
the,
so I'll give you access to all that.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I think you're amazing. I'm like, there's some great ideas here.
Because I know you're
I
going to find it
learned a
works,
ton
and
on
you're going to
this.
tell
Yeah.
people about it. Thanks for making time. I know you got a bunch of things
It's
going
a
on.
pleasure. Yeah. And
Yeah,
thanks for teaching me about the dollar a day strategy. I need to learn more about that because I actually think it'd be really powerful for Whitespark. I
yeah,
think it's a super smart strategy. Yeah.
yeah, and it has a hidden SEO impact too. Do you have a key person that you want to send through the training?
It would be
And we'll give you
Gabby.
access too.
Yeah, it would be Gabby, but it's like we are strapped. We have a very small marketing team and like a zero person sales team. So I feel
Yeah.
like there isn't a key person that really would be like, oh, the director of marketing that would do that. I think it's me. It's me for now.
Okay. Well,
And
it's
then
super easy. The dollar a day, you literally just go in and boost a few posts here and there. It's not some complex
that's the
thing.
concept. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
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 But I
And
didn't
I'll
think
help
you
you
could
too.
boost a post for $1. And so you're
Yeah.
saying Twitter is where you get the cheapest rates?
Twitter's cheaper, but it's mainly because I can micro industry target. So because you are a B2B software services agency,
Yeah.
then targeting people who are in particular industries, or targeting people like when you have a podcast and you interview somebody,
Yeah.
I would target their followers, right? Like
Right.
it's super
How
relevant.
do you get the followers? You get them to give you an email list or what? Or no, you
No,
just go to the
no, you
followers,
literally
whoever
just
follows that
target them.
brand. Yeah.
It's so
Oh, and
easy.
that
Yeah.
person. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so easy. I'll show you.
All right.
It's so
I'll
easy.
see
It's
it in
like
the training.
cheating. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then just schedule, I'll give you a link. You can just schedule a little 15-minute optimization session with me anytime you want. And we'll just go in and look at your ads and I'll answer whatever questions you have. It's so easy.
All right. This is cool. Well, like you said, lots of people have lots of great ideas, but very few execute. So
That's the difference.
hope I can carve out some time to execute on this because it sounds great.
Yeah. Just, like 15 minutes a month or something.
Yeah.
I'll
Right.
help you. Yeah.
Awesome.
And then
Well,
once they
thank you,
win,
Darren.
you just let them run forever. That's the beauty of it. It's not the thing, the thing I don't like about working out is you have to keep working out and then you get fat. But this, it just keeps running.
I wish I could do that with my weight training. I just do it.
Yeah.
I set up my weight training downstairs. I do it once and then I just keep getting fit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Awesome, Darren.
Okay, thanks a lot. It was a real
You're the
pleasure
best.
to finally have a good chat with you. Appreciate it.